How does one funny bar kiss end with legal papers in your hand while your own child watches? What happens when a husband stops arguing, starts taking notes, and lets a judge answer the joke for him? Can a woman who swears, "It was just a dare," still call him the villain when the result is stamped and signed? Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Ione Fairweather, and I am not the villain in my own story, no matter what people say now. I am a 32-year-old woman, a mother, a wife, and a full-time customer success rep who listens to people complain all day. If I want one stupid night to feel young and alive, I do not think that makes me a bad person. It just makes me human. That is what I told myself then, and if I am honest, I still believe it most days. It started on a Friday night in our small apartment. The place is fine, but it feels like a box. Same grey couch, same kids' toys, same dishes in the sink. Mark came home tired, with his work bag on his shoulder, like every other day. He told me he had a long day at the high school. I did not ask for details. I had my own long day listening to rude customers. I had already laid out my outfit on the bed. Tight jeans, black top, gold hoops. Not crazy, just fun. My sister Kayla sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling on her phone, and my friend Tasha was in the bathroom, fixing her lipstick. The bedroom smelled like hairspray and perfume. I felt like I was in my 20s again. Mark walked in and looked at my clothes. He asked if we were going out. I said of course we were. There was a rooftop bar opening downtown, and Kayla had a friend who could get us in. He asked if it would be late. I said probably, because fun does not happen between 8 and 9 like some school schedule. His face changed a little at that. He told me he was tired and would rather stay home. He said he had tests to grade. I rolled my eyes and said he always had tests to grade. I told him he was acting like my father, checking curfews. He did not like that. He said he was just asking a simple question. I answered that he did not like me having a life outside being his wife and Eva's mom. I knew that was unfair, but it made my point. Eva was sitting on the living room floor, playing with her dolls, and she heard us. She asked why Daddy did not want Mommy to have fun. That hurt him more than anything I said. He told her that he wanted Mommy to be safe and that loud bars were not always safe. I told her he was being grumpy and that grown-ups argue sometimes. I made it sound like he was the one with the problem. We left in an Uber around 9. Kayla played music on her phone, and Tasha took pictures of us in the back seat. I saw our faces in the screen, glowing with streetlights, and I liked how I looked. Mark never takes pictures of me like that anymore. He always says he looks bad on camera, but he never thinks I might need proof that I am still pretty. The rooftop bar was packed. Warm air, colored lights, music so loud you feel it in your ribs. People were leaning on the rail, laughing, smoking, taking videos. I felt alive in a way I had not felt in months. The bartender knew Kayla and gave us a round of shots for free. Tasha held up her phone to film us drinking. I tilted my head and laughed for the camera, like I was on some show. Mark texted that he had arrived downstairs. I had told him he could come if he wanted, but I did not expect him to actually show up. I felt a little annoyed when I saw his text. I wrote that we were on the roof, and he could come up if he would try to have fun for once. Yes, I wrote that. I wanted him to see how it felt. He came up about 10 minutes later. I saw him before he saw me. He looked out of place in his button-up shirt and serious face. While he walked toward us, Kayla was already talking to a guy at the bar. He was cute in a messy way. Dark hair, camera around his neck, some kind of photographer or something. His name was Rafa. He called me the fun one after 2 minutes. I liked that. When Mark reached our group, I introduced him as my husband, the responsible one. People laughed. Rafa said Mark seemed like the dad friend. I said that was accurate, and that it was good to have a responsible person to drive us home. even though Mark had not agreed to that. I saw the tight line in his mouth but pretended not to. Drinks kept coming. Music stayed loud. At some point, someone said we should play a dare game, something simple, like in college. Tasha started it. She dared Kayla to dance with the bartender, then dared me to sing on the little stage. I did it badly. People cheered. I was buzzing from the attention. Then someone, I think it was Kayla, dared me to kiss Rafa. She said it would show I was not whipped. Tasha raised her phone at once, already recording, saying she needed content. Mark told me to stop. He said this was not funny and that I was drunk. I hate when he says that in front of other people. It makes me feel small. I told him it was just a joke. I said everyone here understood humor, and he was the only one who did not. I told him to relax and loosen up. I said it was 3 seconds for the camera, not a real affair. Yes, I used that phrase. I thought it was clever. I grabbed Rafa's shirt, leaned in and kissed him. It was supposed to be quick and silly. But he kissed back harder, his hand on my lower back. For a second, I felt a little shock, then I laughed it off. People around us shouted and clapped. Someone banged on a table. It felt like a scene from a movie. I looked at Mark right after. His face was white. He was not shouting or making a scene, which honestly made it worse. He just looked at me like I was a stranger. I waved my hand and said it was a joke, and that he was embarrassing me by acting hurt. I made it sound like he was the one doing something wrong, in front of everyone. On the way home, he was quiet. In the Uber, he asked how many drinks I had. I said enough to have fun. He said I had crossed a line. I told him he was being dramatic and that every couple needed a funny story. I said people would know it was a joke. That was when I decided to post the video. Back at the apartment, I sat on the couch and pulled up the clip on my phone. The kiss looked more intense on camera than it had felt in my head. Still, the angle was good, my hair looked nice, the crowd sound was wild. I typed a caption about borrowing someone else's husband for 3 seconds when yours is too boring to dance. I thought it was hilarious. Mark told me not to post it. He said if I cared about him at all, I would not. I told him he was trying to control my life. I said if he trusted me, a stupid video would not matter. He said it was not about trust, it was about respect. I answered that respect follows results, and I had results. Likes, laughs, attention. Then I hit share. The likes started to roll in before I even brushed my teeth. I lay in bed, phone in my hand, room still spinning a little. The video sat at the top of my feed, the kiss on a loop, my hair flipping just right. People commented with laughing emojis and I could never, and you're wild. It felt like proof that I was still someone, not just a mom with a lunchbox and a desk job. Mark was in the kitchen making Eva's breakfast. I could hear cartoons and clinking dishes. He usually kissed my forehead before work. That morning he did not come in. I told myself he was sulking, and I was not going to chase him. At work, the open office was buzzing. The moment I sat down, Tasha rolled her chair over with her phone out. She said everyone had seen my famous video. She held up the screen, and there I was, again, kissing Rafa on the rooftop, the crowd cheering, Mark's face just inside the frame. I winced for a second at how clear his expression was, then pushed it down. Coworkers walked by and smiled in that awkward way when they do not know if they should laugh or judge. One of the girls from accounting asked if my husband was okay with it. I laughed and said he was being dramatic, that he did not get bar humor. I told them he almost cried over a nothing kiss. That part was an exaggeration, but it made the story funnier. Tasha said every couple needed a wild story. I said exactly. I called it content and told them we got free shots after, like it was some reward. A quieter coworker, Jen, shook her head. She said that if her husband posted a video of himself kissing another woman, she would call it cheating. I shrugged and said, women get more leeway because men cheat with their bodies, and women cheat with their minds. They all laughed at that line, even Jen a little. I felt smart and sharp and in control again. All day, the video kept popping up on people's screens. Someone had shared it to a local hashtag page. People who did not even know us were commenting. Most did not know I was married unless they read the caption carefully. I decided people were overthinking it. I told myself it was just noise. Mark did not text me at lunch like he sometimes did. When I texted him a meme, he only answered with a short reply, asking what time I would be home. I answered late because I had dinner with Mom and Kayla at the family restaurant. He did not argue. I told myself he had learned his lesson and was letting it go. The restaurant was busy when I arrived. Old photos on the walls, kids running around, plates clattering. Denise and Kayla were at a table by the window, glasses of wine already half full. Kayla had my video open before I even sat down. She hit play, and the kiss ran again, the sound turned down but not off. I saw my own face, lit up by the bar lights. It still looked good. Denise said it was quite a show. I asked if that meant good or bad. She said it meant brave. She asked if Mark was still mad. I rolled my eyes and said he was, that he was acting like I had run off with Rafa to a hotel. I told her he kept talking about respect. Denise snorted. She said when a man starts talking about respect, it usually means he wants control. She reminded me how my father was, how he used respect as a weapon while he behaved badly himself. I told her Mark was not like my father, but it still hit something in me. I said Mark was trying to make me feel guilty for wanting attention. Kayla said if a man cannot handle his woman getting a little shine for one night, he is insecure. She said he should be proud that others find me attractive. She called the kiss iconic and said the way I grabbed Rafa's shirt looked powerful. Denise nodded along like a talk show host. I felt warm and safe in their approval. It was easier to sit in that version than think about Mark's face in the video. Our food came, and we kept talking. I told them, Mark said I crossed a line. I told it like a funny story, doing an impression of his serious voice. They laughed. Denise told me never to apologize for being noticed. She said I had spent too many years shrinking myself to be a good wife and mother. Kayla said men need to be humbled sometimes. In the middle of dinner, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a comment from Megan, Mark's sister, under the video. Just 2 question marks. That was it. No words, just... It annoyed me more than if she had written a full paragraph. I showed it to Denise and Kayla. They both rolled their eyes. I replied with a laughing emoji and wrote that it was obviously a joke, and that Mark knew that. That was not exactly true, but Megan did not need the full story. A few minutes later, Megan sent me a direct message. She wrote that the clip had really hurt Mark, and that I should at least take it down if I cared about him. I read it, felt my chest tighten for a second, then flipped the feeling off like a switch. I showed the message to Mom and Kayla. I said Megan was being dramatic, just like her brother. Denise said Megan always played the victim. Kayla said Mark's whole family needed to relax. I wrote back to Megan that she did not understand our relationship and that Mark was trying to weaponize embarrassment against me. It sounded strong and smart in my head. I liked the phrase. When I finally got home, Eva was asleep. The apartment was quiet and clean. 2 mugs sat on different counters, not together like usual. Mark was at the kitchen table with his laptop open. The screen showed what looked like a blank spreadsheet, little lines and columns. I asked what he was doing. He said he was just organizing some things. He asked how dinner went. I said it was fine. He asked if we talked about the video. I told him everyone agreed that he was overreacting. I said even my mother thought he was being controlling. His jaw tensed a little at that, but he just nodded. He asked if I had watched the video with sound all the way through. I said yes. He asked if I noticed how I called Rafa the fun husband I never got. I shrugged and said it was a joke everyone understood. He asked if I heard Eva's little voice in the background of one part, asking why Daddy looked so mad. I honestly had not noticed that. I said people were reading too much into everything. He looked down at his laptop and typed something. The keys were soft, steady. I leaned over and saw he had written dates in one column and short notes in another. The bar night, the dinner with my family, the views on the video. I laughed and asked if he was keeping a diary now. He said he was just keeping track so he would not question his own memory later. That line made me uncomfortable. I told him he was acting paranoid. I said he was making himself the victim so he did not have to face his own flaws as a husband. I told him, if he was more fun, none of this would have happened. He asked if I really believed that. I said yes, because I needed to believe something that made me right. Eva came out of her room then, rubbing her eyes, asking for water. She looked between us, sensing the heaviness. Mark got up fast, poured her a glass, and carried her back to bed. When he came out again, he did not touch me, did not reach for me at all. He went back to his laptop, pressed a key, and the spreadsheet flickered and changed. For a second, I saw a folder on the desktop named Archive A. I asked what that was. He said it was nothing I needed to worry about. I told myself he was just trying to scare me. I told myself that in the morning he would calm down. After all, it was just a kiss, just a joke, just a video. That was the story I chose, and I clung to it with both hands. A few days later, the video was still floating around online, but the noise had already started to fade. People move on fast. I told myself that was proof it was not that serious. Just another clip in the endless scroll. Mark, on the other hand, did not move on at all. He shifted into this quiet, heavy version of himself that I found harder to fight with. The first time I really felt it was at the school pickup line. It was a Thursday afternoon, bright and windy. I had left work early to get Eva. When I pulled into the parking lot, I saw Mark's car already there. He was leaning on the hood with his arms crossed, talking to another dad. He looked normal, not angry, but not warm either. I parked and walked over. I did not touch him. He asked how my day went. I said it was fine, and that our local fame was already dying. He did not respond to that. Instead, he asked if we could keep things calm in front of Eva. I said I was not the one making things dramatic. When the kids started to come out, one of the other moms waved at us. She laughed and said she had seen me on some local page and asked if we were planning to go viral again. She called me wild and fun. I smiled and said that apparently my husband could not take a joke. I said he had been sulking all week over a silly bar dare. I could feel Mark stiffen next to me. He did not argue. He just said that not everything online was funny to the people inside it. The mum shifted her weight, looked uncomfortable, and changed the subject. In my mind, that was his fault, not mine. He could have laughed and gone along with it. Instead, he made it awkward. Eva ran over and grabbed his leg first, then my hand. She asked if we were both picking her up now. I said yes, like it was normal. She asked why Daddy slept in the other bed sometimes. My face burned. I said Daddy was just being dramatic over a joke. Mark told her gently that sometimes grown-ups need space to think, but that we both loved her. I rolled my eyes where she could not see. That evening he went to see his mother, Linda. I did not go. He said he wanted to talk to her and Megan alone. He did not ask my opinion. He just told me his plan and left. I told myself that was rude and disrespectful. I told Mom on the phone that his family was pulling him away from me. Later, I heard from Megan through a short message that they had talked about next steps and about protecting Eva. She did not say what that meant. I read her words and felt like they were planning something against me. I called Denise and said Linda was turning Mark against me and that she had never really liked me. Mom said she had always felt judged by that side of the family. She said they probably wanted Mark to leave like my father did. It was easy to slip into that story. Saturday night, some friends hosted a game night at their condo. Tasha convinced me and Mark to go. She said it would be good to show everyone things were fine. I agreed. I told Mark we had to act normal for once. He said he would go if we kept it easy and low drama. I said the drama started with his attitude, not my actions. The condo was warm and crowded, with people sitting on the floor and couch, drinks on the coffee table. For a little while, it was almost fun. We played a card game, talked about work, laughed at silly stories. One of our friends joked that in every group there is a flirty one, a responsible one, a chaos one. Someone pointed at me and said I was clearly the flirty one now. The room laughed. Then, because someone always has to push it, a guy picked up the remote and put on the bar video on the TV. Someone had screen mirrored their phone. Suddenly, there I was again, Rafa's mouth on mine, the crowd yelling, Mark's stiff face in the corner of the frame. The room went quiet at first, then a wave of nervous laughter rolled through. I laughed louder than everyone. I said this was our wild marriage story, like something from a movie. I told them Mark just did not get the joke. I said every couple needed one scandal to keep things interesting. People smiled, but some of them looked more uncomfortable than amused. Mark did not laugh. He did not storm out either. He just watched the screen with this strange, calm expression. When the clip ended, he said softly that he did not find it funny, and that it felt like everyone was laughing at him, not with him. I answered that nobody would be laughing at him if he would just relax and join in. I called him fragile. The word hung in the air like smoke. After that, the mood changed. People started smaller conversations in the corners. One friend pulled Mark aside in the kitchen. I could not hear what they said, but Mark's shoulders were tight. When we left, the goodbyes were short and awkward. Tasha whispered that people were too sensitive and that she had my back. I clung to that. Back home, the apartment felt colder. Eva was already sleeping at Linda's that night, so it was just us. Mark sat at the kitchen table again with his laptop. The same spreadsheet was open, only now it was fuller. I could see rows with dates and little notes. The bar, the dinner with my mom, the game night. Next to some of the entries, there were words like video played again and comment from teacher-parent. I asked him if he really had nothing better to do than write down every time I made a joke. He said he was keeping a record because he did not trust his own memory anymore when I told him things happened differently. He said he needed something clear to look at when I said he was imagining things. I told him that was insane, like he was building a case against me. I used that word on purpose. He looked at me in a way I did not like. Calm, not angry, not scared, just settled. He closed one tab and I saw folders on his screen for a second. One was named Archive A. Another one had the current year. There was also a little cloud icon that said, "File uploaded successfully" before it faded. I asked if he was talking to someone. He said he had spoken to people who cared about him. I guessed he meant Linda, Megan, maybe Leo. I told him his family and friends were poisoning him, making him think I was some monster. I said they were jealous that I had more life and more attention. He did not argue. He just said that people who saw him cry probably had a right to an opinion. I told him if he kept acting like this, I would end things myself. I said, maybe I deserved someone who could handle a fun wife. I expected him to panic, to beg, to promise to relax. Instead, he looked straight at me and said that if I really wanted to end things, we would do it properly, with facts and not moods. I laughed in his face, because that sounded so dramatic and formal. Back in our room, I waited for him to come to bed. He did not. After a while, I went to the hallway and saw the guest room door closed. Under the crack, there was a faint blue light. I heard a soft beep, like a recording stopping or a phone being set down. I stood there for a moment, hand on the doorknob, then walked away. In my mind, he was still bluffing. I thought he was overdoing it to scare me straight. I told myself that once the video fully died online, he would calm down. I still believed, absolutely, that the problem was his thin skin and not my actions. I did not see, yet, how much he had already decided. Monday at the office, people were still whispering, but now it was less about the video and more about how Mark took it. That annoyed me more than anything. It was my clip, my moment. Somehow he had turned into the main character in people's minds, the poor hurt husband, and I was the one explaining myself. We had a small celebration in the break room because one of the teams hit a sales target. There was cheap cake and plastic cups. Tasha pulled me over and told everyone that I should give a speech as our viral queen. She thought she was being funny. I rolled with it because what else could I do? Someone played music from their phone. Another coworker said we should toast to Internet Ione. I smiled and lifted my cup, but inside I felt a little tight. One of the newer girls, Kelsey, asked if my husband had forgiven me yet. She said it with a nervous laugh, but the question was there. I said there was nothing to forgive. I told them it was a social experiment, like those videos where couples test loyalty or whatever. I said I wanted to see how Mark would react to a silly dare, and that he failed the test by taking it too seriously. They laughed, or at least they smiled. It sounded clever and intentional when I said it that way, not impulsive. Jen, the quiet one, muttered that she would not like to be tested like that. I pretended not to hear. Tasha backed me up and said, "Men run experiments on women all the time, so it was fair play." I repeated that this was content, not betrayal. I used that word a lot, content, because it made everything feel lighter and less real. Around lunch, my phone buzzed with a text from Mark. He asked what time I would be home because he wanted to talk logistics. That word annoyed me. It sounded like a work email. I did not answer right away. I left the message on read for almost an hour while I chatted with Tasha and scrolled through comments under the video. When I finally wrote back, I said I had plans with Mom later in the week, and he would have to stop trying to schedule my life. He replied with just, "Okay." That one word made me more angry than a whole speech would have. It was like he had walked out of the fight and left me punching air. On Wednesday afternoon, he texted that he was meeting Leo for coffee near downtown. He did not ask for permission, he just told me. Leo is his friend who works with numbers and money, the type who always has a neat little folder under his arm. I imagined them sitting in some lobby cafe, heads together, talking about me like I was a problem to fix. That image made my skin crawl. I told Mom that evening that Leo had always disliked me. I said he was feeding Mark worst-case stories and putting ideas in his head. Mom said men like that love drama that makes them feel important. She told me not to let them intimidate me. Hearing that, I told myself whatever they were planning would not matter when I turned on the charm. A few nights later, we had dinner at Denise's house. She called it a family check-in, like she was the host of some talk show. Kayla was there too, of course. Mark came because I insisted. I said it would look bad if he refused. He showed up on time, in a plain shirt, sitting straighter than usual. We ate at the little round table in her living room, knees almost touching. Denise opened the door with a bright smile, and then immediately gave Mark a look like he was already guilty. She asked how our little situation was going, like she was talking about a sick pet. I said we were working through it, and that some people in the marriage were more dramatic than others. Mark stayed calm. He said he felt humiliated by the video and by how I talked about him. He said he did not appreciate being turned into a joke for strangers. His voice was even, almost too even. I rolled my eyes and told them he laughed at first at the bar. That was not exactly true. He had smiled for a second before freezing, but I stretched that second into a whole mood. I said now he was rewriting history to make himself look like a victim. Denise nodded along with me. She said men like to act wounded when women stop shrinking. Kayla chimed in and said he was trying to weaponize hurt feelings to put me back in my place. I grabbed that phrase at once. I repeated it slowly, like I had thought of it. Weaponizing hurt feelings. It sounded sharp and smart. I watched Mark's face when I said it. He did not explode like I half expected. He just nodded a little, like he was adding another sentence to his inner notebook. He answered that feelings were not weapons, but patterns could be. He said one mistake could be forgiven, but when the same pattern continued and everyone laughed at the person hurting, something had to change. Denise cut him off, saying he was being dramatic and that women get judged harder for everything. We went around like that for a while. I felt backed and safe with my mother and sister on my side. Every time Mark tried to talk about respect, one of us jumped in with a story about my father, or about other men who controlled women. I blurred the lines on purpose. If I could make Mark look like all those bad men, I did not have to look at my own choices. Eventually, he pushed his chair back. He thanked Denise for dinner in his polite teacher voice and said he was going to pick up Eva from Linda's. He did not kiss me goodbye, did not touch my shoulder. When the door closed behind him, Denise said he had no right to sulk in her house. Kayla said he should feel lucky I still wanted to be seen with him after all this. That night at home, I finally noticed the guest bed made up like a hotel room. Clean sheets, Eva's extra blanket folded at the end, his pillow from our bed. The door was open, like it was normal now. On his desk in the living room, next to the laptop, there was a plain folder labeled Household in his neat handwriting. I flipped it open without asking. Inside were copies of our bills, bank statements, and a simple printed budget. Lines for rent, groceries, gas, daycare, my car payment. It was all very factual and boring, but the way it was organized made me feel like I was staring at something sharp. I asked him why he had put all that together. He said he wanted things to be clear and fair if anything changed. I laughed and asked why he was talking like the marriage was some contract review. I said he was making it worse by acting like an accountant instead of a husband. He said we could not keep arguing in circles. He said if this kept going, we would need structure, not just feelings. I told him if he wanted to leave, he should just say it, instead of hiding behind spreadsheets and folders. I said he was too scared to actually walk away. I thought that would hit him. Instead, he looked at me with that same calm, finished expression I hated. He said he was not scared, he was careful. He said I liked games and tests, but he was done playing. If things changed, he would handle it properly, with facts, not drama. He said he would not yell, would not slam doors, would not throw words he could not take back. He would just act within the rules and live with the results. I said he was bluffing again. I told him nobody with that calm voice ever really did anything. He just nodded, like he had expected me to say exactly that. Later, when I went to our bedroom, his side of the bed was empty. The guest room door was closed. From inside, I heard the soft click of a drawer and the faint hum of our cheap shredder in the corner of the living room starting and stopping. I lay there in the dark, scrolling my phone, watching the view count on the video move slower now. Fewer comments, fewer laughs. I told myself the storm was over. I told myself he was only making noise with folders and beds to punish me. I still believed he would cool down and come back to me once he saw no one else cared anymore. I did not understand that I had already pushed him past that point. The first real crack I could not ignore showed up on a Saturday morning at the park. I took Eva by myself at first. The playground was busy, kids shouting, parents on benches with coffee. It should have felt normal. She ran to the swings, hair flying everywhere, and I tried to just be in that moment. For a bit, I could pretend everything was fine. Then I saw Mark walking toward us from the parking lot, hands in his pockets, that same careful expression on his face. He had texted that he might stop by to see her. I did not answer, but of course he came anyway. I told myself it was because he could not stay away from us, from me. I chose the story that hurt less. He said hi in this formal way, like we were co-workers, not married. He pushed Eva on the swings while I stood next to them. She laughed and called out for, "Hiya, Daddy." I watched him and felt this weird mix of anger and jealousy. He seemed more relaxed with her than with me. It made me feel like the outsider. When the swing slowed, Eva hopped down and grabbed both our hands. She asked why Daddy slept in the other bed now. Her voice was small, but the question felt huge. I froze. Mark looked at me, like he was waiting to see what I would say. I jumped in first. I told her Daddy was just being dramatic over a joke Mommy made. I said he was taking too long to get over it. I made it sound like he was the one hurting the family, not me. Mark's jaw tightened, but he did not correct me in front of her. He just told Eva that sometimes grown-ups need space to think, but it did not mean they loved her any less. Another mom on the bench glanced over when she heard me say joke. Her face shifted, just a little. It bothered me more than I want to admit. I felt judged. In my mind, I blamed Mark for that too. If he had laughed and moved on, nobody would think anything. Later that day, he took Eva to his mother's house. I stayed home, saying I had laundry and a headache. Really, I just could not handle Linda's eyes on me. I imagine how she talked to him in her small kitchen. I imagine her saying she warned him I was trouble. I hated that picture, so I called Mom and gave her my version first. I told Denise that Mark and his mother were probably planning to steal Eva from me. She gasped and said over her dead body. I said Linda wanted to replace me as the main woman in Eva's life. Mom said that happened to her when my father left, that other women tried to play mom with us. The more we talked, the more I believed my own story. It felt safer to see myself as the threatened one, not the one who had caused the threat. When Mark brought Eva back that evening, he came in with a small grocery bag and a serious face. While Eva ran to her room to show me a picture she drew, he put the bag on the kitchen counter. Inside was a pack of Eva's favorite yogurt, a loaf of bread, and a few other basics, all neatly arranged. He said he had been going over our budget with his mother and sister, and they thought it would be good to separate some of the shared costs for clarity. I asked what that even meant. He said he wanted each of us to have our own account for personal spending and to make a simple agreement about who pays what for the household and for Eva. I stared at him. I said that sounded like something divorced people did. He said couples in trouble did it too, to keep things from getting uglier. He opened the household folder and showed me a simple list of expenses: rent, utilities, daycare, groceries. He had written down how much he usually paid and how much I did. I told him this was all a setup. I said he was planning to leave and wanted to make sure he could say he had always paid his share. I accused him of trying to trap me so he could run off and look good in front of some judge. The word judge just slipped out, but once it did, I felt panic under my skin. Mark did not raise his voice. He said he was trying to avoid shouting about money in front of Eva. He said if we kept acting like this, we would destroy more than just a bar story. He repeated that this was not revenge. It was preparation, in case. That word made me feel like he had already made a choice. I changed tactics. I started crying. I said he was ruining our family over one silly kiss, that he was the one doing damage now. I said if anyone was hurting Eva, it was him, with his coldness and his separate bed and his little lists. I told him he should feel lucky I had not done worse than a 3-second kiss, that plenty of women in my situation would have gone much further. As soon as I said that, I saw something close in his eyes. Not anger, exactly, not shock, just finality. He looked down at the table, then up at me. He said quietly that he understood me better now, that I had just told him how I truly saw the line. He said he had already spoken to someone about next steps, and that he was not going to argue about facts anymore. I asked who he had spoken to. He did not answer directly. He said he had talked to people who knew how to deal with situations like this, and who knew the process. He said he was going to protect himself and Eva within the rules. Everything in me wanted to scream, but the way he said, "within the rules," scared me more than any shout could. A few days later, he texted me at work and asked if we could meet that evening in the parking garage under my office. He said he did not want to talk in front of Eva, and he did not want to have this conversation in our kitchen again. The message sounded so formal it made my teeth clench. I wrote back, "Fine." The parking garage was dim and echoing when I walked in. My heels clicked on the concrete. His car was parked near the exit, headlights off. I got in the passenger seat and slammed the door. He smelled like coffee and that soap he always used. He said thanks for coming, like I had done him a favor. I crossed my arms and asked if he was seeing a lawyer. He paused for a second and then said he had asked for advice about our situation from someone who knew the system. I demanded to know if he was filing something. He did not say yes or no. He just said that he was making sure he understood his options. I started in with everything I had. I said he was breaking up our family over one little kiss that meant nothing. I said he had pushed me into it by being boring and never taking me out. I said if I had wanted to cheat for real, I could have, because clearly I still had options. I threw every sharp word at him, trying to pull him back into the familiar fight where I knew my lines. He listened without interrupting. When I finally ran out of steam, he took a slow breath. He said he was done living in a place where respect was a joke and pain was content. He said our daughter deserved adults who did not test each other like reality TV. He said he would not yell, he would not call me names, he would not make a scene. Then he told me, in a steady voice, that there would be a meeting at the courthouse on Friday at 10 in the morning, and that it would affect all three of us. He said it would be clear, simple, and official. He told me I should be there, and that after that, everything would move according to the rules, not my mood. I laughed in his face, because I did not know what else to do. I said he was trying to scare me with big words and buildings. I said he would never actually go through with something like that. He just looked at me, eyes tired but sure, and said he had already started. Then he unlocked the doors on my side of the car, a small polite signal that the conversation was over. As I walked back to my own car, the garage lights flickering above me, I saw him in my mirror. He was checking something in an envelope on the passenger seat, then setting his phone on the dashboard. A tiny alert flashed for a second on his screen. Courthouse, 10 a.m. I told myself it was just another bluff. I told myself again that he was too soft to actually follow through. And because that lie was easier than the truth, I believed it. Friday morning, I walked into the courthouse lobby 10 minutes late with my sunglasses on and my mother at my side. The building was bright and cold, all glass and echo. I still believed this was some mediation meeting he had exaggerated to scare me. I even joked to Mom that he was turning a bar kiss into a whole TV drama. Mark was standing near a bench with Leo. He wore a simple shirt, no tie, but he looked like he had slept. There was a plain folder in his hand. He did not come over to hug me or even kiss my cheek. He just nodded once, like we were strangers with an appointment. I opened my mouth to ask what this was really about when a woman stepped up and said my full name. I said yes, confused. She confirmed it again, then held out a thick envelope. Her voice was calm and flat. She said I was being served with a petition and temporary orders, and that I should read them carefully. For a second, I did not move. Mom asked what was going on, her fingers digging into my arm. People nearby glanced at us, then went back to their own business. I took the envelope because my hand knew how. Even while my brain refused, I tore it open and saw my own name printed next to Mark's. Words like dissolution and custody jumped out, but one line burned most. Until further order, our daughter's primary residence would be with him. Across the lobby, a clerk called his name. Mark stepped forward, placed his papers on the counter, and signed while I stood there clutching mine, still trying to tell myself it was all just one long joke,